Welcome back to the client portal. So this is where we left off, and we're now looking at the client portal. This is exactly what your client is going to be looking at. So you're looking at this as though you were the client. And the first thing you'll notice at the top of the page here is your photo. You remember we uploaded it a couple of sections ago under our profile. You'll also see that there is a banner here at the top. Now, this is my training account, so I just put in a banner that shows the San Gabriel Mountains. This is Glendale over in the left and Mount Wilson over here on the right. If you are a broker, you have absolute control over this banner. Now, only the broker or the manager can do this, but basically it's under the Office menu, Upload Banner. If you need any help with that, feel free to give me a call. I'll walk you through it. But as an agent you can't change that, but as a manager you absolutely can put your own banner in, and all the big companies have done that. Notice that your name is here, your company. This, as I said, is a training account, so it shows PFAR, your address, and then over here we've got the phone numbers. And you remember I said that if you put phone types, it will tell your clients that this is my cell number, this is my voicemail, etc. And then of course we've got our email. It's a hyperlink, so if your client clicks on this they can email you directly, and my web page. So down below that you'll see the first thing we have is prepared exclusively for Webb Simpson and Tiger Woods. And this is why we type their names properly and completely. People like to see their names. If you've been in the habit of using abbreviations, this is the time to stop, because it just doesn't look as powerful if you say prepared exclusively for Jimmy 66. Not nearly as good, okay? Now, when your client comes down below, and this is something that I would remember if I were you, because this is something that you're going to talk about with your clients. They're going to see that for each listing, they have some basic information, and it's really very powerful. Okay, the first thing they have is that they can view the details. And when they go to view details, this is essentially the same view details that you have. Now, of course, there are some things missing. Your client does not have the option to look at the listing agent information, or the showing instructions, or the commission information, or the lockbox location, and all that good stuff. I mean, you wouldn't want them to. But everything else, they get to see exactly the same details that you have. Now, they also have the ability to click on pictures, and if you click on this, you'll see that it is exactly the same picture viewer that we have when we look at pictures in the MLS. So your client can set this up as a slideshow if they wish to, and you'll see that it counts down through the various pictures, or they can just skip ahead and go to the pictures that they want to see, but they get to see the exact same pictures that you see in the MLS. They also have the ability to map the property, and when they go to see map, you'll see that it shows them where the property is. They can go to an aerial view, and they can zoom in, and they can get a pretty good idea of where the property is located. And then they can even go to a bird's eye view, which is going to give them 4 oblique views of the property, and they can zoom in and use these little circles here to change the views, and you can see that, boy, they've got a great view of the Gold Line, and wow, there's a Gold Line train driving through. That's pretty neat. Okay, so they could go through and they can look at it from 4 different perspectives. In other words, they can get a pretty darn good idea of what the property is before they even call you up and say, I want to go and see it. Okay, now, perhaps the most important feature here is that for each property, they have the ability to save or reject it. Think of this as the old Roman gladiator thing, you know, should he live, should he die, okay? So let's say that they're not so keen on the Gold Line. Well, they like the Gold Line, but they don't want to be right next to it, so they're going to reject this one. Notice that my numbers immediately change to show that that has been moved to the rejected. So we come down to the next property. Again, we can look at the pictures, look at the details. Let's say they like this one. We'll save it, and you'll see that, again, the numbers have been changed so that it reflects the property was added. And we'll say we save the next one, and we'll just leave it at that point there. Okay, we're going to talk some more about the client portal, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to go back to the MLS. So if we click back on the MLS, which we got in the background here, we go to save. It's now going to take us to our contacts prospects screen, and the first thing you'll see is that Webb Simpson and Tiger Woods here, if we look over to the right, the numbers have changed. So in other words, those changes we made just a second ago to the client portal are already reflected in the MLS. In other words, you get to see in real time what your client likes and doesn't like, okay? And if you want to see the 2 listings they like, you go to Saved Listings here, and it will show you the exact 2 properties that they like. This is really, really powerful. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that our clients, Webb and Tiger, have been looking for properties for a couple of weeks. They haven't found what they want in South Pasadena, but one of their friends suggests that they look in La Crescenta. So we're going to add a new search here. So we're going to go back to searches, and we're going to go to standard. Again, you can use any search you want. You can use a map search, a quick search, whatever you want. We're going to do residential, single family. We're going to come down to zip code. The zip code for La Crescenta is 91214. Again, notice that active is selected by default. We're going to do 650 through 950. And once again, they say that they absolutely have to have 3 bedrooms. So let's do a preview count. Make sure we haven't made a boo-boo in our search. It tells us that we've got 18. Again, we're not going to view the results. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to the options pane. Now, we already have a prospect for Webb Simpson and Tiger Woods. Do we want Webb Simpson and Tiger Woods Mark II? No. It's just going to confuse them, confuse you. So this time we're going to use the 3rd choice, which is add search to an existing prospect. We're going to come down here and select Webb Simpson. We're going to click save, and the system's going to say, hang on just a second, I've already got a search for these guys. What's so special about this? So you can type in La Crescenta, you can type in 91214, whatever is going to remind you why this is different to the other search. Okay, so we're going to click submit. It says we've found 18. We're going to go to view results. And once again, live demonstrations. Don't you just love it? Okay, so we're going to refresh that and go back to contacts prospects. Now notice that for Webb Simpson, the number now is 20. In other words, it took those 18 listings that we just found and it added them into the 2 that were left over from before. And if we scroll down, you'll see that the 2 in South Pasadena, I don't know if you can see there, they're not checked, okay? So we've got 18 checked, 20 listings found. In other words, the new listings are highlighted so that they don't appear in the same way as the other listings, okay? Now, let's say that we want to highlight one or more of these listings for our client. There are 2 ways of doing it. One way I would very definitely not recommend. I'm going to show you how to do it. And the other way I would recommend. Okay, so let's start with the one I wouldn't recommend. Notice that by each listing there is a little mailbox here. It says view or add comments. So I'm going to click on the first one, and you'll see why in a minute, because it highlights one of the shortcomings of this. And we're going to say this is great. Let's see it on Saturday. Okay, all right. Now, there's a little button there that says private. If you check that, you'll make it so private that you will have a hard time finding it. Your client won't stand a chance. So just whatever you do, don't check that. Let's click on save, and we'll talk about that again when we go and look at our client portal. Okay, let's say that we want to highlight one of the other properties. So let's go and have a look at it and make sure that we do actually find one that's pretty neat. Wow, that looks beautiful. Okay, so we want to draw our client's attention to this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to open the options pane, and you'll see over here right now we have 20 newly matched, no agent recommended, 2 saved, 1 rejected. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this button here, move to agent recommended. Now, because we're in the detail view, the listing detail, when we click move to agent recommended, we are moving just this one listing. Now, if you want to move a bunch of listings from the list view, you can move a whole group at a time, but here we're just moving one. So notice that now it's 19 newly matched, 1 recommended, 2 saved, 1 rejected. So remember those numbers. Let's go back to the client portal. Okay, we go back to the client portal. Big sense of let down because it looks exactly the same. Now, this is a function of how the internet works. The internet is not constantly going out and getting new versions of the page you're looking at. So we have to tell it, hey, I want to refresh this. So up in Google Chrome, this is very easy. We just go to reload this page. You can also use the function key F5. And when we reload, you'll see that now it says we have 19, 1, 2, and 1. And we've got this flashing message next to the new comments. Now, I am not a fan of this comments feature, okay, for a couple of reasons. And number one is that you would expect that if you clicked on the icon here, it would take you to the one where the comment is. No, your client has to go down and they have to find this flashing icon here. Now, this is why I used the first listing, okay, because it's easy to find. So that's one problem with this. Now, when your client clicks on this, there you go, this is great, let's see it on Saturday, they can reply if they want to. That brings us to the second problem with this. Okay, so let's go back to the MLS a second, and let's go to the home page on the MLS. When your client sends you a message using that post comments feature, it does not send you an email, it does not send you a text message. What it does is it puts a message here in client portal activity. You can see it there. It's really, really easy to miss, okay? The other place it appears is on the contacts prospects page, where actually it's not there, but there should be a flashing icon here. The point here is that it's very, very easy to miss that flashing icon. So my advice is that when you're giving your client the walkthrough, and we're going to talk about that again in a minute, tell them whatever you do not use this read or post comments. I mean, just about anything is better. Send a message by carrier pigeon, smoke signals, give me a Facebook message. Anything is basically better than this tool, okay? Which brings us to our second way of doing it, and that is the agent recommended. Now, to me, this is front and center, right in front of you, hard to miss. I'm going to finish this up and come back in a next section.